The underground vault, the forgotten roots that crush milk in calcium. For our entire lives, we have been taught to look upward in search of bone nutrition. We look at the pastures where cattle graze, or at the green leaves growing toward the sun. The dairy industry has built a trillion-dollar empire on the premise that cow's milk is the exclusive guardian of calcium and our skeletal health. When milk fails, modern medicine pushes calcium carbonate pills on us, pieces of synthesized rock that our bodies often cannot recognize, resulting in calcified arteries and kidney stones, while our bones remain porous and fragile. But we have made a colossal geographical mistake. We forgot to look down. Nature's true heavy lifting happens in the absolute darkness of the underground. Roots are not just anchors for plants. They are the most advanced mining systems on planet Earth. They secrete acids that dissolve stones and absorb pure minerals from the Earth's crust. Today, we are going to unearth 6 ancient roots, ignored by modern supermarkets and forgotten by the Western diet. These subterranean vaults not only contain formidable concentrations of calcium, often surpassing milk, but they come equipped with the exact biological engineering to force this mineral directly into your bone matrix. Prepare to rewrite everything you know about your skeleton's health. Salsify, oyster plant. Our journey begins in 19th century Europe, at the luxurious dinners of the Victorian era, with a root that looks like a dirty, earth-covered twig. At first glance, salsify is ugly and rustic. However, when you peel back its dark skin, it reveals a milky white flesh. And when it is cooked in butter, something bizarre happens to your palate. It tastes exactly like fresh sea oysters, with subtle notes of artichoke. Hence its nickname, the oyster plant. But the true miracle of salsify isn't its luxurious taste, it's its deep absorption biology. Salsify has a taproot that plunges meters underground, bypassing the depleted topsoil to mine untouched calcium in the deepest rocky layers. But ingesting calcium is only 10% of the battle. The other 90% is about intestinal absorption. This is where salsify humbles cow's milk. This root is one of nature's richest sources of inulin, an indigestible prebiotic fiber. When you eat salsify, the inulin travels intact to your colon, where it serves as a feast for your good gut bacteria. As these bacteria ferment the inulin, they produce short-chain fatty acids. What modern science has discovered is absolutely genius. These acids lower the pH of your large intestine. In this slightly more acidic environment, the calcium that would normally be discarded in your waste is instantly dissolved, transforming into free ions that are sucked right back into your bloodstream. Eating salsify is literally hacking your microbiome to create a vacuum that pulls every available milligram of calcium in your body, sending it straight to your bones. Horseradish. If salsify is about subtlety, horseradish is the brutal, healing violence of nature. Known by the ancient Egyptians and revered by the Oracle of Delphi in ancient Greece, who claimed it was worth its weight in gold, this thick, knobby, cream-colored root hides a defensive chemical arsenal. When you grate fresh horseradish, it releases volatile oils called isothiocyanates. The smell is so pungent and aggressive that it burns your nasal passages, makes your eyes water uncontrollably, and clears your sinuses in milliseconds. Today, it has been demoted to a mere steakhouse condiment, but this root is actually a clinical powerhouse for bone metabolism. Gram for gram, raw horseradish contains an absurdly concentrated amount of calcium. Obviously, no one eats a full plate of horseradish at once, but it doesn't need to be consumed in large volumes, because its primary function is to act as the ignition switch for your digestion. The great problem with human aging is hyperchlorhydria, a brutal drop in stomach acid production. If you don't have strong stomach acid, you cannot break down and ionize the calcium from your food, let alone from pharmacy pills, rendering it useless. The thermal burn of horseradish acts as a defibrillator for your stomach. A single touch of this root on your tongue sends neurological signals that force the stomach to produce bursts of fresh, potent hydrochloric acid. By adding a small portion of horseradish to your meals, you are not just adding the plant's own calcium. You are creating the perfect chemical furnace in your stomach to melt, extract, and absorb the calcium from absolutely everything else you ate that day. It is the catalyst that wakes up your dormant digestive system. Celeriac, celery root. We move on to the Mediterranean with, arguably, the ugliest vegetable ever created by evolution. Celeriac looks like a goblin's brain, an irregular hairy sphere full of crevices and tangled roots covering its base. Mentioned in Homer's Odyssey, it was planted in the medicinal gardens of ancient Greece. Despite its grotesque exterior, peeling it reveals a dense white flesh textured like a potato, but which exudes a clean, sweet, and intensely fresh perfume, reminiscent of celery stalks mixed with toasted hazelnuts and parsley. When boiled and mashed, celeriac is creamier than a potato and possesses a density of minerals that a common potato could only dream of. But why is it on this list of bone builders? Because celeriac masters the biology of the bone triad. The dairy industry wants you to believe that bones are made only of calcium. That is an anatomical lie. A bone made solely of calcium would be as hard as glass and would shatter at the slightest impact. A real, unbreakable bone needs calcium for hardness, phosphorus for cellular structure, and vitamin K for the mortar. Celeriac delivers all three simultaneously. It is incredibly dense in phosphorus and carries a titanic load of vitamin K. The vitamin K in celeriac activates a crucial protein called osteocalcin. Think of osteocalcin as the construction workers in your body. Without them, the bricks, calcium, just pile up in the street, your arteries, causing strokes and heart attacks. It is the vitamin K in celeriac that signals the body to grab the circulating calcium and cement it flexibly and resiliently into your skeletal structure. It is a complete mineral management system in a single root. Taro root. Now we cross the globe toward the South Pacific, diving into the history of the great Polynesian navigators. They didn't conquer the ocean by eating wheat or drinking milk. They did it fueled by taro. This root has rough, brown skin, almost like tree bark, and its interior is a marvel of dense starch, often dotted with purple or pink veins. Taro is the lifeblood of Hawaii, where it is traditionally smashed to make the fermented paste called poi. However, raw taro guards a dangerous secret that teaches us how nature protects its minerals. If you take a bite of raw taro, it will feel as though you just chewed ground glass and sewing needles. Your mouth and throat will swell and burn in agony. This happens because raw taro is loaded with calcium oxalate crystals, known as raphides. The plant evolved to crystallize its own calcium into microscopic spears to shred the throat of any predator trying to eat it. The calcium is there in massive amounts, but it is structured as a weapon. The surprise factor here is the alchemy of fire and water. When you cook taro, whether by slow boiling, roasting on coals, or steaming, the heat and moisture break the crystalline structure of these needles. The oxalate is neutralized and destroyed. What remains is a soft, silky starch matrix with a flavor reminiscent of sweet nuts and earthy vanilla. And most importantly, a colossal reservoir of completely unlocked and free calcium. Taro's resistant starch creates such a slow, perfect digestion that the intestinal tract has hours to absorb this purified calcium, steadily rebuilding tooth enamel and densifying the long bones of the body. Rutabaga. Traveling to the brutal winters of northern Europe in the 17th century, we find a root born of a botanical accident, a wild cross between a cabbage and a common turnip. The rutabaga is dense, heavy as a bowling ball, with a purple top and a pale yellow base. It has the grim reputation of being a famine food, having kept European armies and civilians alive during food blockades in the trenches of WWI and WRD2. It has a sweet, buttery cabbage flavor when roasted. But its true glory is chemical. It prevents calcium robbery. Here is the dark side of dairy that no one likes to discuss. Although cheese and milk contain calcium, they are highly acid-forming foods in the human body. When your blood becomes excessively acidic due to a poor Western diet, rich in sugars, dairy, and processed meats, your body panics. To neutralize this acidity and keep you alive, the body needs a strong alkaline agent. And where is the largest stockpile of alkaline minerals in your body? In your bones. The body literally dissolves your own bone, stealing calcium to neutralize the acid in your blood, which leads to early-onset osteoporosis. Rutabaga stops this cycle of destruction. Not only is it a formidable source of bioavailable calcium, but it is overloaded with alkalizing potassium. When you eat a heavy rutabaga stew, its minerals shift your body's pH toward alkalinity. With your blood perfectly balanced by the root's potassium, your body no longer needs to loot its own skeleton to defend itself. Rutabaga isn't just a calcium deposit. It is the protective shield that locks the calcium inside your bones so it never leaks out again. Parsnip. We finish our subterranean dive in the vast fields of the Roman Empire, with a root so valued that Emperor Tiberius demanded it be brought from Germany to Rome annually as tribute. Visually, the parsnip looks like a giant albino carrot, but when you slice it and roast it in the oven until caramelized, you will understand Rome's fascination. Before sugarcane dominated the world, parsnip was the primary sweetener of Europe. It has a complex, absurdly sweet flavor, with warm, spicy notes that hint at nutmeg, clove, cinnamon, and sweet potato. While the common carrot gets all the fame for its vitamin A, the parsnip silently crushes it in the skeletal department. It boasts calcium levels profoundly higher than its orange cousins. However, the parsnip's master trick is its intimate ratio with magnesium. Modern medicine fails to explain that calcium is the mineral of contraction, it makes your muscles tense, and magnesium is the mineral of relaxation. Without magnesium, calcium becomes rigid, causing deadly cramps, heart spasms, and brittle bones. The parsnip is a biological masterpiece because it pulls calcium and magnesium from the soil in the exact ratio that the human metabolism requires. It doesn't need supplementation or pills to balance it out. By consuming it, you are ingesting dense, soluble fibers that slow down the digestion of the plant's natural sugar, while simultaneously delivering a perfectly orchestrated load of calcium to build the bone and magnesium to ensure that same bone remains elastic and capable of absorbing heavy impacts without fracturing. The nutritional wisdom we have been searching for was never hidden in sterile labs, confined cows, or plastic capsules on a pharmacy shelf. It has been, for millions of years, safely guarded just a few inches beneath our feet. Roots lack the visual glamour of green leaves, and they don't have the billionaire lobby of the dairy industry. They are dirty, rustic, and often deformed. But from the oyster-flavored salsify to the caramelized parsnip, through the purifying fire that unlocks taro, the earth provides precise molecular tools. By rescuing these forgotten vegetables and reintegrating them onto our plates, we are not just eating more richly. We are, quite literally, rooting the foundations of our bodies in the unshakable strength of the soil itself.